Yeah, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Rob, host of From My Experience podcast. We bike. Side note, sorry that we did not post an episode last week. However, like I said, if you go to FME _ podcast on Instagram, I did have a thought I wanted to share with everyone about focusing on the positive. So I did a really long post. I think it's like 10 or 12 minutes. I didn't feel the need to make that an entire podcast episode. So I just made a post there. So if you need some motivation or just a boost, go listen to that message. I think I actually put it on my personal page to complete, spelled with a K _ vision. I'm not sure. But I'm not alone today. I have the co-hostess with the mostest. Ericca, what's going on?
I'm so glad it's Friday. I'm not going to lie to you.
Listen, hold on. Let me hit the praise. Here, world. What did it do? Here, world.
When they caught me at work on Wednesday and I texted you, I said, I ain't gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. Like, they just holding me against my will. They not paying me for this.
Yo, I laughed so hard when you said you had training. I said, no, I know that training about to be dry, stale.
And you gonna say my spy training. I said, I wish it would be a lot more entertaining than this. Oh my gosh, I was so annoyed. And then my GPS, it took me like an additional 20 minutes out from my house. I was so mad.
That's perfect.
So I was a couple blocks away from work and I was like, I let me just take this route because, you know, Siri knows best. Wrong. She doesn't. She took me on a completely different interstate. I was so mad when I realized where I was. I said, so you just had me go in a big old circle for no reason. Like, what was the reason? There was none.
You avoided traffic.
There was no traffic. It was like 7:30 when I was on the way back home. I was mad. I was like, I just want to go to bed. Like, oof. I was so over it.
Oof. Well, I got good bad news. So should I talk about my job in this manner? I'm not.
Okay.
I'll say this. The good news is I got more work at work, which keeps me occupied. I'll just leave it at that. That's helpful for me at work. It keeps me busy. Anyway, we hope y'all been doing all right out there. Hope you've been taking care of yourselves physically, mentally, and financially. And we got a special guest. And the music is playing. And Ericca, spotlight is on you.
I've been waiting. Okay. Please welcome our guest, Miss Traci Neal Speaker Poet, as she shares with us how she partners with organizations, businesses, and publications to promote poetry positively. Come on, round of applause.
Hello, Traci.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for reaching out and trusting these complete strangers with your time and with your story. I'm so thankful to all guests because, like I tell people, most of the people we interview, I do not know personally. Typically, I reach out or they reach out. And, you know, if I like what they got going on, obviously, if they reach out to us, they like what we got going on. And we like to connect. So welcome to From My Experience podcast.
Yes, I'm so excited.
All right, we're going to get right into it. The first question I have for you is, who is Traci Neal?
So for me, I would call myself a servant. Now, mind you, 4 years ago, before I started doing the poetry full time, I did not like being a servant. My last job, I was a pre-K aide, a teacher assistant. I came from the ground up. You know, I tried 10 years to be a certified elementary school teacher, and it never happened. It always felt like it was like a block. But when I took that leap of faith to do the poetry, I always loved writing since I was very young. And it just, like, one thing led to another. I tell people, whatever's meant for you, it's going to fall into place. And that's what happened with the poetry. I started off doing radio. Being a guest on radio, and then it trickled to publications, magazines, newspapers. I tell people the shift for me happened when I got in the New York Times. And I feel like that was like the trajectory of the career, because my mindset changed. It shifted to where I really wanted to use words to impact lives. So I had tried 3 times to get in the New York Times, but the third time I decided to be more vulnerable and talk about how I experienced rejection and how poetry was my outlet, for those bad experiences. So after the New York Times, things just started picking up.
Wow. That is beautiful. And that's great that you accomplished that. I too was a teacher. I was a teacher for 10 years. I taught 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So we share that bond of service. Some days are better than others, but I saw that you mentioned in your questionnaire how you realized later on how good it made you feel. And that's one of the things I've been looking for since I've left teaching, is like that intrinsic motivation. Like whatever I do, I want to make sure that I'm actually having a meaningful impact on the lives of others, not just selling the product or pushing numbers, but it's like, hey, is the content or the work I'm doing and putting out, is this going to help someone? Is it going to make their lives easier? Can I give them motivation? Can I give them encouragement? Am I connecting them with the resource that they need? That type of stuff motivates me most of all. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
And so I saw you stare at me so bad. But to follow up on that, I know that you mentioned that you've always loved writing and everything growing up. And I just wanted to ask you, was there a particular thing that kind of, I don't know, a book or a favorite author of yours or a favorite poet of yours that made you want to pursue writing or start to do that as a hobby growing up or just in your free time?
It was actually 2. I liked Phyllis Wheatley. I felt like she was very eloquent in her writing. And I liked Maya Angelou. I felt like she was empowering. So I guess in a way, my style is a combination of that.
And like growing up, was that something that you used to do where you would like present your poems or anything like that in public? You would just keep it to yourself or anything?
I tell people I actually got into it in 7th grade when I was 13. My 7th grade teacher wanted the class to do a poetry book. So each class period, we could share a poem, and I always wanted to share mine. And when I turned 14, my mom took me to the South Carolina Book Festival. It's no longer in existence, but at the time it was. And they had an open mic. I was the youngest in this room with college students and adults.
Oh, wow.
And she thought I was gonna go up there and just like read one of my poems, but I ended up performing, and she pretty much confirmed like for me, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and it just stayed with me.
To get that type of confirmation, also have someone so significant, your mother, that it's like inspires you to be the main one, being like your biggest fan and your supporter too, lets you know that you can't do anything wrong.
Oh, but my mother doesn't play. she need build resilience, because that's something that I tell people, in the writing industry is very competitive, but it's funny, I'm not competitive. Like I feel as though whatever is, like I said, meant for me to have, it's gonna happen. So I tend to not try to force things. I'll talk to people, ask if they're interested in collaborating. Sometimes they'll reach out to me, but it's nothing. This whole situation of the poetry hit was not forced. It was definitely a leap of faith, and just believing what God has for me is for me, and it's been awesome ever since. But yeah, my mother, I tell people my mother is my biggest critic, but she is one of my biggest supporters. And I would love to give an example of this.
Sure. Yeah.
So a while back, a couple of years ago, I was in this big poetry art exhibit. And mind you, that was when I got in the New York Times. I was published, I was around, outside of South Carolina. And so they wanted some poets to perform, But I basically had, stepped out and said, I don't mind performing, but I need to get paid,
Right.
because I already did this, sharing my poems for free for this gallery. So I had a professor from my college at the time that I shared this, with her. And we ended up having a disagreement about me getting paid. Like, you should be glad that they're doing this for you, because mind you, I'm not one of those people that be like, oh, I've been in this, I've been in that.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
You're humble.
Like, I don't believe in that. Like, let the work speak for itself. But so I kind of had to stand up for myself and say, hey, no, I did this out of the kindness of my heart. I'm already out there, type thing. And she ended up hanging up the phone on me.
No.
And I was like, so, and I will not lie, I'm a mushy person. Like, I care. So, it just threw me aback, and I kind of got emotional. And so my mom ended up calling me like right after, that happened. I feel like it was the Lord. And, I guess she could hear in my voice that, I was distraught. And so, after we got off the phone, I did not know. Me and my husband were already on our way to, like, because they wanted the poets and the artists to, have a gathering at the library this particular night.
Yeah. And
my mother came over to Alex's place. Listen, y'all, I still to this day, it was still like 10 minutes. My mother was over there and she told me, oh, I know she's going to be there. And she was. But do you think that professor bothered me?
Nope.
Don't mess with her baby.
You just, when you were talking, you pointed out two very, very, very important things that I've also experienced. And for the listeners out there, please, 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 if you missed it, I'm going to repeat. One, you believe in what God has for you is for you, and you do things because they feel right. It's not necessarily attached to a competitive spirit or a competitive nature. I'm the same way. Even with this podcast, like, people are like, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing this. And one thing I repeatedly tell people, I'm like, when the time comes, I'm going to dump more money into this podcast and do more things. But I said, one of the things I never want to do with this podcast is make it feel like work. Like, this feels like breathing to me. Like, I could do this 8 days a week if I wanted to, even though there's not 8 days in a week, because it just feels good. It feels natural. And I mean, we've had probably over 100 guests on this show, and everything has been organic. Everything has been organic. It's been effortless. It's been easy. Ericca came along at the perfect time when I needed her to, out of nowhere. It's been helpful to her. So, to pivot to the next point. So just think about that, y'all. Everything's not about competition. Now, there's some duality here at this point. When we talk about money, every opportunity is not attached to a paycheck. Charlemagne the God said that. However, you do need to know your worth, and there are times in life when you get to a certain level, it's like, okay, I need something in return for my time. It could be money, it could be bartering for a service, it could be a certain spotlight, it could be an advertisement, but there comes a point in time where you should be getting something in return for what it is that you're doing. And there is nothing wrong with standing up for what you believe in, standing up for yourself. And as they say, my price is my price. I had to do that. I DJ'd part-time for a while, and I was very transparent about my prices, and people didn't want to pay. So I had a lot of no's, but you know what? I also had a lot of yeses and a lot of people who paid what I asked for. And I went home happy. They enjoyed their event and things were good. And I didn't feel any type of way about it, because when people see the value in what you do and you know what you bring to the table, it always comes together. So you can't worry about the no's, you know what I'm saying? And, and I'm not talking about one-offs like, hey, this is my friend, my cousin, or we've known each other for years. Maybe I'll give you a little discount, but, stick to your guns when it comes to that. So I'm really glad that you shared that, because not enough business owners and people out here are sharing that message of just doing business organically. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, so now one thing you shared that I found very interesting was you were diagnosed with autism and ADHD at 34. So how did you come about getting diagnosed, and why so late in your life?
So I actually had a conversation with my mother. We were just talking, and she mentioned that you could be autistic. Mind you, she had said this in the past to me, a couple of times, but I don't know. I felt this urge that I just need to know. So I can't pinpoint a rhyme or reason. Right. I just needed to know. I finally had the courage to be like, okay, I need to know. I've been told that I'm different, but why?
Wow.
And I actually originally was just going to get tested for autism, but the psychologist that diagnosed me, she tested me for ADHD too.
Okay.
And that was a shocker, because I just thought I had high energy. I was just good with kids, and it would be so funny, y'all. Like they would be like, you don't act like the average adult. You got so much energy. I was like, never a dull moment. You won't be bored with me.
Hey, shoot, that's a good thing. I don't think I got enough energy. On the flip side of that, I'd be ready to go to bed at 6 o'clock. Like, Okay, so after your diagnosis, at any point in time did you kind of like reflect on your life and said, well, that explains that, that explains that, that explains that?
Yes. Major.
I could only imagine.
Major, sir. I was like, now it all makes sense. So I felt free. Y'all.
Was it
that's what I was gonna ask too. Was it freeing for you after that?
Oh yeah, like I could take the mask off, because you growing up, especially like my parents were in the 50s and 60s era. Autism and ADHD was around. Conditions were around, but there wasn't something you mentioned. Like it wasn't something that was talked about like it is now. I feel like I was made for such a time as this, because being able to just share my story, and that I think differently. I think sometimes in our culture we can put people in a box and think that everybody has to be super smart, stuff like that, and that's not how my brain works. And I'm not ashamed to say, no, I'm pretty basic. I have to ask questions to better understand things. And it was hard. It was hard on jobs because, I'm supposed to be an adult, but I didn't understand a lot of things. And so if you talk to me too broad, I'm going to keep asking questions like a child. So kids love me because they ask a lot of questions, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it would bother me because I ask a lot of questions. We in the same boat,
Yeah.
So, but adults, they would be looking at me like, you should know this, adult. I don't. And you can't really advocate for yourself when you don't know what you have.
Yeah.
So back then, I couldn't really stand up for myself like I can now. I can put a name to my nature now and be like, well, this is because of this.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You need to learn my flavor.
Not your flavor.
You're trying to teach me how to do the job that's made for vanillas or chocolate, and I'm strawberry.
Gotta diversify that learning. All those people out there teaching and training people, instructional designers, gotta have that diversity in your learning.
Not one size fits all.
That's right.
Ever.
And after being diagnosed, has there been a shift? I know that you said, thinking back on it, like everything makes sense, and also you now are able to put a name to certain things in your life, but how has that been with your support system? How have they like rallied for you, like probably even more now or anything like that?
Oh, I'll be honest. It was an adjustment. It was an adjustment because I tell people, especially like being a neurodivergent woman of color, oh, we can mask.
Very bad. High functioning.
Yes, and I finally learned why. I was in advanced classes and I wasn't advanced, and my dad's a retired teacher, so I asked him. I said, "Why was I put in advanced classes? I really wasn't advanced." And he was like, "I didn't want you to be around misbehaved kids."
I gotta play the drop.
I'll be damned.
Go ahead, yo. You just...
I'll be damned.
As a former teacher, I can concur. All sets of children have their levels of misbehavior, but those kids in those advanced classes, they were some focused individuals, and they were structured. And I personally, throughout my experiences with them, did not have very many issues, if any at all.
And see, but that's the thing, like, and that's why I share my story, that it does not matter what level a neurodivergent is on. If you give us detailed enough instructions, we will knock that thing out like it's nothing. And that's what I was able to do. I can follow directions.
See, so
it's like a child. I can follow directions. You tell me exactly what you want me to do, I'm gonna give you that and then some.
Well, you were right where you belonged in. You were advanced. Because let me tell you how many kids can't. Churn cannot follow no directions. That was the most frustrating thing to me about teaching. I used to write it. I used to say it. I used to practice it. And they would still ask questions. I said, I've been over this thing tree time.
Or when you say don't cut the paper and someone already cutting.
Oh yeah,
that always cracked me up.
Yeah. I after a while, you just like, look, just come to me if you got questions. I'm gonna go over this one time, then I'm gonna go sit down. I know you're gonna have questions. I'm not gonna waste my time doing this 4 times. So, yeah. Well, that it's so funny how many people don't follow directions and don't know how to follow directions, and I think that's like a superpower for you, honestly. Like when you get detailed directions that you can follow it and deliver and then some, like, because there are people who aren't diagnosed. And I promise you, being in the field of instructional design right now, some people I'm like, yo, how do you not get this? Like, here's a video of me doing this. It's like, I can't get any more detailed than this. I've broken it down for you and they just can't get it. So kudos to you on that as well. You got me thinking about these stories in my head. My goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I do have a question. So you did say when you reflected back on your life after your diagnosis, it made sense. Is there a particular moment or story that really stood out, that really helped make that connection? Like, oh shoot, when I was a kid, this happened. And I was like, man, why did this happen like this? Oh, well, it makes sense now. Do you have any moments like that?
Oh, so many. This I won't say the name, but the last job I had, it was a boy that I like really connected with in my pre-K class, and I think he might have ADHD too as well, like me, because we just clicked. Like when he saw me, when he would come down the hall, he was like, Miss Neal, just like
he was a mini me.
Same thing, like I am so animated and
he was so turned,
like real turned up. And I kid you not, y'all. I'm like real transparent. I'm a Christian, but I wouldn't always save. So like in my college years, I party so hard. And so
hello, me too.
But now I know why I had all this energy.
Oh.
Because they would be like, "Are you drunk? Are you you done sip some stuff?" No.
Naturally fun.
So yeah.
Naturally fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Oh, Ericca, go ahead. I stole your spotlight.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. We're just bouncing. So one of my questions for you was, when did it kind of come to that tipping point where you were just like, I want to do poetry full time? Like you were just ready to take that leap of faith in a way.
Two things that I feel like I was kind of forced into it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Sometimes we need that push, and for me, I got pushed. So the first incident was like towards the end of 2019. I'll say September 2019, when I got my 10th time failing the Praxis 2 to be a
Ooh,
certified teacher
hold
in North
on. You just
Carolina.
gave me heartburn. Ooh, don't say the P word. Oof.
But let me tell y'all, my kicker was that was the highest score I made, but they didn't pass me by 1 point.
Wow.
I'll be damned.
And
I'll
I said to myself, I'm done.
Yeah.
Traci,
Rightfully so.
we are first of all, we are Carolina connected. I went to Claflin University down in Orangeburg. I took Praxis. I'm getting old. I think I took it 3 times, but I do remember one time I definitely failed it by 1 or 2 points. And the only reason I kept going, I mean, I was already in my senior year, and I was like, well, hell, I'm not going to go back and get another major, and I can't let my degree go to waste. So, but I did end up passing it. Yeah, oof, I don't test well. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
And it's
that
just
had to be
redirection.
one stinking point. But look how it turned out for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And
that
then
wasn't for you.
and the next year, the pandemic, I was
Oh
like,
my
okay,
gosh.
it's time.
I forgot that the
For it.
pandemic happens like, 2020. Whoa.
Oh man.
But I like that it serves as redirection for you with everything because, as you said, what's really made for you will show up right then and there. And there's reasoning on why certain things didn't work out in the past.
Definitely.
All right. Ooh. So, with everything that has happened, so at the beginning of your brand, what was the inspiration for you to start? Like, what was that catalyst? Oh, this is a brand. I need to do this.
Honestly, God, you know, I was just like I said, I'm simple.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not like I dream, but I don't dream big. So I tell people like just take it one day at a time because you don't know what something will lead to. So I'll say after I started getting on a lot of like radio shows, I did about 22 radio shows
Nice.
in 2020. And just like booked them myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a PR, I didn't have a manager, a team, just, I was raised right to be mannerly and stuff. And I noticed on social media that, being polite and being respectful, gave me an advantage. So I just did that, just reaching out to people and being thankful for them responding or, whatever have you. And good things came out of it. So the rest is history. I still do it, still be polite and appreciative.
Yeah, like you did with us. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know that you said that you take it one day at a time and not realizing that this was going to like become a brand or anything like that because you just kind of kept everything simple with it. But like, what are your like hopes for it in the future? If there are any, like, what do you hope for with this?
I hope that it's going to touch a lot of lives. I'll never forget when I was talking to my older sister when I first started, she was like, what is your aim for this? And I didn't hesitate. I want to help a lot of people. And so I think that matters more, when you're a business owner, entrepreneur. If you're trying to do it for the money, you'll never have enough. But if you do it, for the heart to help others, you're going to succeed. You're going to flourish because people help people who help people.
Yes. Wow. You just made something click for me. I'm thinking about shout out to my mentor, Corwin J. Millette, broker owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group. Him and my boy Carl Van, founder of Pass the Peas app, the only recipe app where you can upload recipes, add videos to each step, and create collaborative cookbooks. Those two guys are like two of the closest people to me on this earth, and they have that in common with you. Like, Corwin loves real estate because he gets to help people. He does affordable housing. Like, he thrives off of impossible situations. When people think they can't get a house, 6 months to a year later, he has them in a house. And my boy Carl Van, he started Pass the Peas app because of what happened in his family and them losing recipes, and he was like, I don't want to see this happen to other people. And then he's even brought in other pieces to where we can try to help feed communities and stuff like that, and the less fortunate. So just it hits different when you have just a noble cause like that, and I do believe those things do work out, and it's just a different level of happiness. Money is nice too, but money isn't everything. And I learned that at a very young age from a high school teacher I had. She used to be an attorney, and I went to high school in Philadelphia. And I remember one day we asked her, we were like, why would we know you made a lot of money? Why would you leave that to be here with us? We weren't that bad, but we weren't that good neither. And she was like, every day is an adventure with you guys. Like, I love doing this. This just feels good. And she was like, money isn't everything. She was like, I wasn't happy. She was like, doing this makes me happy. And I was like, oh. I can't remember her name, but she had fiery red hair and it was short. She was cool. So I really align with you with your cause of just helping people, and that's back to this podcast. Promoting positivity. That's what we want to do in this landscape of podcasting where people, what they be doing. Yes. I was like, come on, man. But anyway, I digress. All right. I'm gonna let Ericca ask the question about your interesting story.
Oh my goodness. It was an interesting story that you left on the questionnaire about what kind of, I don't know, it lit a fire under you a little bit. You wanted to talk about it. I don't want to say too much to spoil it for the listeners.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gosh, Ericca.
So, okay, fair enough. It was basically a talent entertainment agency.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all you had to say.
Yeah.
This is great. This is what I'm talking about. That was too vague for me. Sorry. Okay. So yes, when I first started, I tell people that's why I said I didn't know it was going to be a brand, because when I first started, I wanted to be a star. I wanted to be famous. I thought I had the talent and, everything going for myself to succeed. So I basically was set up a Zoom call for this talent agency. And I got the day wrong, for the actual Zoom call. And when the secretary reached out to me, I was arrogant, about it, that, I'm supposed to be doing this, like, you don't know who I am type thing. And the director of the talent agency, she called me on the phone and she spoke to me like a mother about, you don't know who knows who. You need to be mindful of how you treat people, because that can get, it can backfire on you, things like that. And like, I can't even remember everything they said, but like at the end of the phone call, I bawled and I told her that, I'm going to do better, and I feel like that situation, that was a part of my, neurodivergence, that I was just totally unaware of, how it was making people feel. And that really broke me. So, I told her I was going to change, and I did, so much so that I convinced her, because she basically told me at the end, I never worked with somebody like you. And so But over time, I guess she saw the changes and she wanted to work with me. And, to this day, I'm just very grateful for her because I'll give another situation of that evolved from it. I was trying to get on a particular podcast and it didn't happen, but the person that I was speaking with, I thought they were just like the secretary of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So me and this person, we were talking and communicating via email, and I was every time being respectful, being appreciative of whatever help, this individual lady gave me. Well, come to find out, when she was trying to get me on the show, that she was one of the lead producers.
Oh.
But because, like I said, I kept a positive attitude, she ended up helping me to be able to record on my phone. And y'all, I got a basic phone. Like, I ain't got one of them. I don't have a I'm frugal. But I'm not ashamed.
She grabbed a sweater.
I got a basic phone. So, but she taught me, even with my basic phone, how to make it sound, professional.
Yeah.
If I speak on it and stuff, to do recordings. So I ended up being on this thing called Spoken Public Radio in Spokane, Washington, where it's this show called Poetry Moment. And so I got to recite my poems using that phone. Like, she taught me how to professionally do it, that lead producer for the other show. And we still connected to this day. But I just find that amazing that because of the lady from the talent agency being willing to tell me, girl, you need to get yourself together. Like, if you're going to succeed, she even told me, she's like, you have talent, but your talent it's a lot of people out there got talent. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be enough, for you to thrive. And basically what I learned from that was, it's my character that's going to make the difference, not my talent. It's a lot, like I said, it's a lot of people out there with talent. That's not enough. But if I was going to stand out, I needed to stand out by character. So I'll forever be grateful for her for that.
Let me hear some praise for that. Listen, you just dropped another gem. I love the gems you're dropping. You align so much with this podcast. I'm so grateful that you're here. Y'all, you have to be humble enough to listen and learn, especially if it's from a source like that. That, that director, her job is to source talent and connect people. And if you want to make it anywhere with any type of business, regardless of your motivation, you need connections. Like, even me, like some of the first guests on this podcast were people I went to college with. You know why they said yes? My personality. They ain't even heard the episode. Some of them didn't even come back and listen to their own episode, but they just did it. I don't even listen to all my own episodes, okay? But they just did it off of the strength of, oh, that's Rob. He's cool. He has a good reputation. I know he's not going to lead me wrong. And even like the other guests that we have, like I said, 90% of the people we've had on here, we do not know. I see their Instagram. I'm like, hey, what you're doing is really cool. Would you like to be on a podcast? Sure. Send the questionnaire, done. And they just trust me based off of my character, based off of what I post. And it goes such a long way. And I'm so thankful for that, because if I need any type of business connection in any realm, typically I'm only, either I have a direct line to it, I'm only one or two people connected to it away to be able to get it. And I also have the reputation of where people will vouch for me. People have brought my name up in rooms I haven't even entered, haven't even thinking about entering, and I get a phone call or email like, yo, your name came up. Can you handle this? We want to work with you on this. So your reputation and your character matters. And there's a lot, if you don't even want to listen to us, there's a lot of examples out there. If you take your favorite celebrity and look at their career. A lot of them, when they get older, they talk about their regrets. And one of their biggest regrets is always the way they acted or treated people on some type of set or something that they did to somebody, even Will Smith and, the dark-skinned Aunt Viv, they had that sit down years ago. And she was like, hey, you spread this rumor about me. This hurt my career. And he apologized. It happens, man. It happens. So thank you for sharing that. And more importantly, I'm so glad you changed. That is important because I don't think you would be where you are today without that,
Oh, no, not at all.
Well, I don't have any more questions. Ericca, do you have any more questions?
I think I have maybe one last question, and it would just be, I know that being able to help others, that's what's really the most rewarding part about this and about your brand. Has there ever been like anyone that's like come out like to you and said like I look at your poetry or I read it and it helps me so much? Like I know that those types of memories, or even like a memory of seeing a spark in someone or anything like that when you're performing.
Yes, I'll have people send me messages, and I'll be honest with you, what I've really been getting message about is sharing my diagnosis story. I've gotten a good bit of messages from women of color that were late diagnosed as well, that were appreciative that I was willing to be that vulnerable, because it's not something that's talked about enough. So there's no feeling like it, to know that you've impacted at least one life, but it's been multiple lives. So I'm grateful.
That's really great to hear. And I hope for the best with your brand, and I can't wait to see more in the future on it. I don't have any more questions.
I lied. I have another question. I have two and a half. I have one and a half. Well, I do have two more questions. One, God put you here for a reason, because you have something on this questionnaire that has been on my mind for the longest, but my lazy behind has not put in the effort. And you may have just sparked it. Stop reading my mind. Yes, your special interest in voiceover work. So I'm the same. I can do accent. I did an accent today. I don't even know which one I did. I did an accent today. I've always wanted to do that, and I love anime and I love cartoons. And I know that's just such a big field.
Hits your shirt. Yeah, y'all can't see.
Right. Ghostbuster shirt on, right? That industry, there's just so many opportunities to do it. So tell us about your interest in that, where that came from, and have you done anything with your talents?
I have not done anything yet, but I think it'll come. I really want to do like kid shows, or something like that, a movie maybe. But I just like making kids smile. So I remember when I had first started in 2020 and 2021 with my children's books, I would go around locally and read to kids. My favorite one was the Boys and Girls Club of the Midlands. I went to all of their 9 locations and I read to the kids, and I did voices with the books, and they loved it. It was fun. So I just like bringing smiles and joys to kids' faces, because it's like we have common energy.
That's what's up. Okay. You want to do a character voice for us on the spot?
I don't know what you mean.
You said what?
I don't know what you mean. Or it may not be the proper time to do voices right now. We are on a podcast show.
Okay. Hold on.
I like that one.
Hold up. Okay. A little something there. So, Traci, thank you again for joining us. You dropped a lot of gems. This was very inspiring for me, and it's going to be inspiring for our listeners. And before we let you go, we want to open the floor. Is there anything else we didn't talk about that you want to talk about, or anything you want to leave the audience with?
I'll say keep going. I think that oftentimes, when you're first starting out, you just think, oh, is this going to be it? But you have to keep going. In the beginning, I had no idea it was going to get to where it is. It was just, I just was willing to keep going. And I also say one opinion is not the only opinion, but one person can do something and the rest follow. Just like I said with the New York Times, now people starting to look like, oh, we need to give her some attention because she's been in that. So I just realized that, everybody has their opinion, but you're not the only opinion. So now I take rejection differently than I used to. Like, well, you're not the only opinion. Moving right along. Keep going.
I like that. And your website, where can they reach you?
Yes, it's Traci Neal Speaker Poet.com. One-stop shop.
Boom. And that will be in the description. Cue exit music. And thank y'all for joining us for another episode of From My Experience podcast. This is what we do. We promote positivity. Why? Because we love y'all. We know y'all go through stuff out there. We know sometimes life can get tough, but you're not alone and you can make it through. That is why we are promoting positivity. We have guests on here sharing their stories and their experiences so that you can find a path to the other side of whatever it is you're going through. All right. So until next time, take care of yourselves physically, mentally, and financially. And we'll catch y'all. Peace.
Bye.